Right, hello, welcome back, family and friends. Let's get back into this. Second Esdras 5. So, now concerning the signs, lo, the days are coming when those inhabit the earth shall be seized with great terror, and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. You see? And can you hear Yeshua? Can you hear Jesus in it? Can you hear him? Unrighteousness shall be increased beyond what you see yourself and beyond what you heard of formerly. And the land that you now see ruling shall be trackless waste, and people shall see it desolate. But if the Most High grants you live, you shall see it thrown into confusion after the third period. And the sun shall suddenly begin to shine at night, and the moon during the day. Blood shall drip from wood, and the stone shall utter its voice. The people shall be troubled. It's no joke, man. It's the fear and trembling. And you see, these are things which cannot be replicated. Cannot. These are the times what we're waiting for, what we're looking for. Then we'll know it's happening. And you know, you're going to see it. There'll be no looking at social media videos. Look, the sun shall suddenly begin to shine at night. How can anyone explain? And the moon during the day, blood dripping from wood, and the stone shall utter its voice. The stone uttering its voice. We'll get to that. We'll go into that. The people shall be troubled, and the stars shall fall. And one shall reign, whom those who inhabit the earth do not expect. And one shall reign, whom those who inhabit the earth do not expect. So we expect politicians, don't we? Who's shaping up right now? Who's got politicians squirming in their seats? Who's got a hold of all this information? You know, what stirs up the public? What has got people engaged and arguing for hours and fighting and calling each other names and sharing and reposting? I've had my eye on this guy for 4 years now. I told you. But also, I'm not too sure, because he could still be working for someone else. You know, he might be the Igor. You know, yes, master. And you know, who gets away with a Nazi salute? And then the whole of Ashkenaz are absolutely silent. All the small hats are silent. Everybody's silent. Nobody wants to talk about it. Not even in the news at all. But he can dictate to a whole country what to talk about, because it's going to be a major distraction. And one shall reign, whom those who inhabit the earth do not expect. Let it play out, we'll see. It's shaping up though. But then again, a big part of me thinks they're playing Revelations. It's crisis management, trying to manage judgment. But you know, we'll just see. I ask the questions. And the birds shall fly away together, and the sea shall cast up fish, and one whom many do not know shall make his verse heard by night, and all shall hear his voice. So we know the birds fly away together, and the Dead Sea shall cast up fish. We know that. We've heard that in Revelations. Blood in the water. And a third part of the sea. If you've read it, we know this. We're reading. And here we are in the Apocrypha. They want to say it's not God inspired, but it matches up. It matches up. Once you know the prophets, then you understand Jesus. Let me just quickly go back to the beginning of 2nd Esdras. Knowing the prophets, you understand Jesus. You know the apostles, they quote. Paul quoted, people quote. I gathered you as a hen gathered her chicks under her wings. But now, what shall I do to you? I will cast you from my presence. When you offer oblations to me, I will turn my face from you, for I have rejected your feastal days and new moons and circumcisions of the flesh. I sent you my servants the prophets, but you have taken and killed them and torn their bodies in pieces. I will require their blood of you, says the Father. Now we know, if you're reading, you know which apostle, which disciple quoted that. Well done if you got it right. Yes. Luke 13:34. Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you stone of the prophets, how I could have gathered you. But also, I will turn my face for you. I have rejected your feastful days and new moons and circumcisions of the flesh. People took that as if to say, look, the law's done away with. But no, you don't understand. Read the prophets. Okay, let's get back. Where was I? And one whom the many do not know shall make his voice heard by night, and all shall hear his voice. Who knows what that means? But if we take these things to account, we will know. There shall be chaos in many places. Fire shall often break out. The wild animals shall roam beyond their haunts, and menstruous women shall bring forth monsters. What? What? Menstruous women shall bring forth monsters. Salt waters shall be found in the sweet, and all friends shall conquer one another. Then shall reason hide itself, and wisdom shall withdraw into its chamber, and it shall be sought by many, but shall not be found, and unrighteousness and unrestraint shall increase on the earth. One country shall ask its neighbor, has righteousness or anyone who does right passed through you? And it will answer, no. At that time people shall hope, but not obtain. They shall labor, but their ways shall not prosper. These are signs that I am permitted to tell you. And if you pray again and weep as you do now, and for 7 days you shall hear yet greater things than these. Then I woke up, and my body shuddered violently, and my soul was so troubled that it fainted. But the angel who had came and talked with me and strengthened me and set me on my feet. Now, on the second night, Phaltiel, a chief of the people, came to me and said, "Where have you been? And why is your face so sad? Or do you not know that Israel has been entrusted to you in the land of their exile? Rise, therefore, and eat some bread, and do not forsake us like a shepherd who leaves the flock in the power of savage wolves. Then I said to him, Go away from me, and do not come near me for 7 days. Then you shall come to me. He heard what I said and left me. So I fasted 7 days, mourning and weeping, as the angel Uriel had commanded me. After 7 days, the thoughts of my heart were very grievous again to me. Then my soul recovered the spirit of understanding, and I began once more to speak words in the presence of the Most High. I said, O sovereign Father, from every forest of the earth and from all its trees you have chosen one vine, and from all the lands of the world you have chosen for yourself one region, and from all the flowers of the world you have chosen for yourself one lily, and from all the depths of the sea you have filled for yourself one river, and from all the cities that have been built you have consecrated Zion for yourself. And from all the birds that have been created you have named yourself one dove, and from all the flocks that have been made you have provided for yourself one sheep, and from all the multitude of peoples you have gotten yourself one people, and to this people whom you have loved you have given the law that is approved by all. And now, Father, why have you handed over to the many, and dishonored the one root beyond the others, and scattered your one and only among many? And those who opposed your promises have trampled on those who believed your covenants. If you really hate your people, they should be punished at your hands. If only he was alive today, he would be able to see we actually are being punished at his hands. To a certain extent, you have to really think about that. When I had spoken these words, the angel who had come to me on a previous night was sent to me. He said to me, Listen to me, and I will instruct you. Pay attention to me, and I will tell you more. Then I said, Speak, my Lord. And he said to me, You are greatly disturbed in mind over Yasharal. Or do you love him more than his maker does? Humbled. I said, No, my Lord. But because of my grief I have spoken. For every hour I suffer agonies of the heart, while I strive to understand the way of the Most High, and to search out some part of his judgment. He said to me, You cannot. And I said, Why not, my Lord? Why then was I born? Or why did not my mother's womb become my grave, so that I would not see the travail of Jacob and the exhaustion of the people of Yasharal? That's been mentioned before. Is it Isaiah about why was I born? Or why did not my mother's womb become my grave? Something like that has been said before. I should have looked it up earlier. He said to me, Count up for me those who have not yet come, and gather for me the scattered raindrops, and make the withered flowers bloom again for me. Open for me the closed chambers, and bring out for me the winds shut up in them. Or show me the picture of a voice, and then I will explain to you the travail that you ask to understand. And I said, Oh, sovereign Lord, who is able to know these things except him whose dwelling is not with mortals? As for me, I am without wisdom, and how can I speak concerning the things that you have asked me? He said to me, Just as you cannot do one of the things that I have mentioned, so you cannot discover the judgment or the goal of the love that I have promised to my people. I said, yeah, oh Lord, you have charge of those who are alive at the end. You have charge of those who are alive at the end. But what will those do who live before me, or we ourselves, or those who come after us? He said to me, I shall liken my judgment to a circle. Just as for those who are last, there is no slowness, so for those who are first, there is no haste. Then I answered and said, could you not have created at one time those who have been, and those who are, and those who will be, so that you might show your judgment sooner? He replied and said to me, the creation cannot move faster than the Creator, nor can the world hold at one time those who have been created in it. And I said, how have you said to your servant that you will certainly give life at one time to your creation? He's talking about all the old saints, everybody being resurrected, everybody living in the kingdom, and then everybody living in heaven after that. It's deep. If therefore all creatures will live at one time, and the creation will sustain them, it might even now be able to support all of them present at one time. He said to me, ask a woman's womb and say to it, if you bear 10 children, why one after another? Request it therefore to produce 10 at one time. I said, of course not, it cannot, but only each in its own time. He said to me, even so I have given the womb of the earth to those who from time to time are sown in it. For as an infant does not bring forth, and a woman who has become old does not bring forth any longer, so I have made the same rule for the world that I created. So children are born, it takes a while for them to grow up, to recreate. A woman has a clock, her time is finished. She will live on from then, but there's a time where she can't reproduce anymore. Plus people are born and people die. Then I inquired and said, since you have now given me the opportunity, let me speak before you. Is our mother, of whom you have told me, still young? Or is she now approaching old age? He replied to me, ask a woman who bears children, and she will tell you. Say to her, why are those whom you have borne recently not like those whom you bore before, but smaller in stature? And she herself will answer you, those born in the strength of youth are different from those born during the time of old age, when the womb is failing. Therefore, you should consider that you and your contemporaries are smaller in stature than those who were before you. And those who come after you will be smaller than you, as born of a creation that already is aging and passing through the strength of the youth. That's seriously deep, because it's just got my mind just flowing and thinking and just spiraling off into like giants and stuff like that. But then it got to a spiritual level about how the greats of old and how their exploits and how their relationship and the great signs and wonders. And now, in this day and age where people are quite small, we don't see giants anymore, but also We don't see great spirit in people and the exploits and the strong relationships and profits and stuff like that. But then again, there's a time for everything. And things are promised, which we just can't focus on. We just got to stay on the path. There's a time for everything. It will happen when it happens. Like the book of Acts was for a time. The book of Yasha, whether you like it or believe it or not God inspired or not, like, let me stop. Okay, where was I? Smaller in stature, okay, smaller than you. And those who come after you will be smaller than you, as born of a creation that already is aging and passing the strength of youth. I said, I implore you, O Lord, if I have favor in your sight, show me your servant, through whom you will visit your creation. He said to me, at the beginning of the circle of the earth, before the portals of the world were in place, and before the assembled winds blew, and before the rumblings of thunder sounded, and before the flashes of lightning shone, and before the foundations of paradise were laid, and before the beautiful flowers were seen, and before the powers of movements were established, and before the innumerable host of angels were gathered, and before the heights of the air were lifted up, and before the measures of the firmaments were made, and before the footstool of Zion was established, and before the present years were reckoned, and before the imaginations of those who now sin were estranged, and before those who stored up treasures of faith were sealed. And before those who stored up treasures of faith were sealed. Bang! Straight away, that triggered me. 1 Peter 3:15. Those who store up treasures of faith were sealed. 1 Peter 3:15. Okay. 1 Peter 3:15. But sanctify the Father in your hearts, and be always ready to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you, with meekness and in fear. But in your hearts set Christ apart as holy, and acknowledge him. Always be ready to give a logical defense to anyone who asks you to account for the hope that is in you. But do it courteously and respectfully. And before those who stored up treasures of faith were sealed. What are your treasures of faith? What are you waiting for? What are you hoping for? Can you give an account? Can you give an account of your faith, your hopes? That's part of the relationship. That's part of trust, believe, faith. Do you really have it? Then I planned these things, and they were made through me alone, and not through another, just as the end shall come through me alone, and not through another. I answered and said, what will be the divining of times? Or when will be the end of the first age and the beginning of the age that follows? He said to me, from Abraham to Isaac, because from him were born Jacob and Esau. For Jacob's hand held Esau's heel from the beginning. Now Esau is the end of an age, and Jacob is the beginning of the age that follows. The beginning of a person is the hand, and the end of a person is the heel. Seek for nothing else, Ezra. Between the hand and the heel. The beginning of a person is the hand, and the end of a person is the heel. Seek for nothing else, Ezra, between the hand and the heel. Ezra says his name twice. Seek for nothing else between the hand and the heel. And I said, oh, sovereign Father, if you have found favor, if I have found favor in your sight, show your servant the last of your signs which you showed me a part of a previous night. So going back to that, 2 Esdras 6 and 7, what will be the divining of the times? Or when will be the end of the first age and the beginning of the age that follows? So it's not the end of the world. It's a new age. It's renewal. And because we can't do it ourselves, we can't do it. We've let it get so bad. It has to be done. Everything has to be torn down. You see, I sit and I ask and I think to myself, you know what, why didn't the Father bring us out after emancipation, after slavery? You know, he's given us all this time to sort it out, like, to sort it out. And we've just been fumbling for 160 years, you know. But there's a reason for that. Love and relationships, which leads to the cleaving. Y'all don't want this. You don't want this. The stronghold is, oh man. And then here goes the beginning of another question. If I have found favor in your sight, show your servant the last 4 signs of which you showed me a part of a previous night. He answered and said to me, rise to your feet, and you will hear the full resounding voice. You will hear a full resounding voice. And if the place where you are standing is greatly shaken while the voice is speaking, do not be terrified, because the word concerns the end, and the foundations of the earth will understand that the speech concerns them. They will tremble and be shaken, for they know that their end must be changed. When I heard this, I got to my feet and listened. A voice was speaking, and its sound was like a sound of mighty waters. It said, the days are coming when I draw near to visit the inhabitants of the earth, and when I require from the doers of iniquity the penalty of their iniquity. Here we go. This this set me off. The days are coming when I draw near to visit the inhabitants of the earth, and when I require from the evil doers of iniquity the penalty of their iniquity, and when the humiliation of Zion is complete, When the seal is placed upon the age that is about to pass away, then I will show these signs. The book shall be opened before the face of the firmament, and all shall see my judgment together. Children a year old shall speak with their voices, and pregnant women shall give birth to premature children at 3 and 4 months. And these shall leap about. They shall live and leap about. Unexplainable, unexplainable. These are the times we're waiting for. Then we know this is it, this is it, this is the end. Children, 3-4 month-year-old babies, like the size of my hand, leaping. Get upset, shut the book, this is nonsense, throw it across the room. But when you see it, that's impossible. Okay, whatever, we'll wait and see. And these shall leap about. Sown places shall suddenly appear unsown. What does that mean? Sown places shall suddenly be unsown. Undiscovered parts of the earth? I don't know. Does it mean like countries and continents breaking apart? And full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Hold on to that. The trumpet shall sound aloud, and when all hear it, they shall suddenly be terrified. Full storehouses shall be found empty. And we know about in the book of Revelations where, you know, animals dying, the fish in the sea dying, just total destruction. Also, as we move on in 2nd Ezra 7-8, the fear and trembling, basically. I've done a video on that already, so we're not going to go on to 7 about preppers and us fighting each other over food and bread costing like a week's wages. Storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. The trumpet shall sound aloud, and when you hear it, they shall suddenly be terrified. At that time, friends shall make war on friends like enemies. Again, the earth and those who inhabit it shall be terrified, and the springs of all fountains shall stand still, so that for 3 hours they shall not flow. We've heard this as well in the book of Revelations. Revelation. I know it's called the book of Revelation, but it reveals many things. There are many revelations in the book of Revelation. Okay, so the earth standing still. So if you think of it on just like surface level, the earth stands still anyway. And we're talking about, we've also heard about earthquakes and stuff like that. Okay, so everything goes still, silent, quiet. But what is it that really makes the earth still? So let's take a sidestep and get another psalm. Yeah, I love the psalms, you know. In Judah, Yah is known. His name is great in Yasharel. In Salem also is his tabernacle and his dwelling place in Zion. There Break he the arrows of the bow, the shield and the sword, and the battle. Selah. Thou art more glorious and excellent than the mountains of prey. The stout-hearted are spoiled. They have slept their sleep, and none of the men of might have found their hands. I told you, we let it get too far. The men of might, none of the men of might have found their hands. At thy rebuke, Yah of Jacob, both the chariot and the horse are cast into sleep. Thou, even thou art to be feared, and who may stand in thy sight when once thou art angry? Thou didst cause judgment to be heard from the heavens. The earth feared and was still. When Yah rose to judgment, to save all the meek of the earth, Selah. Thou didst cause judgment to be heard from heaven. The earth feared and was still when Yah rose to judgment to save all the meek of the earth. Surely the wrath of man shall praise thee. The remainder of the wrath shalt thou restrain. Vow and pray unto the Father. Let all that be found about him bring presents unto him that ought to be feared. That's already prophesied. The nations shall bring presents unto the kingdom to worship the Father. He shall cut off the spirit of princes. He is terrible to the kings of the earth. So, mentioned there, the earth feared and was still. And the springs of the fountains of Shabbat, many friends in their habit of eyes. Those inhabit the earth will be terrified. At that time, friends shall make war on friends like enemies. The earth and those who inhabit it shall be terrified, and the springs of the mountains shall stand still, so that for 3 hours they shall not flow. When the waters stop, when the waves aren't crashing anymore, when the streams aren't flowing, what can you say? What can you say? It shall be that whoever remains after all that I have foretold you shall be saved, and shall see the salvation and the end of my world. And they shall see those who are taken up, whom from their birth have not tasted death, and the heart of the earth's inhabitants shall be changed and converted to a different spirit. Vow and pay unto the Father your Elohim. Let all that be found about him bring presents unto him that ought to be feared. And converted to a different spirit, for evil shall be blotted out, and deceit shall be quenched. Faithfulness shall flourish, and corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which has been so long without fruit, shall be revealed. Wow, I'm running out of time. While he spoke to me, little by little, the place where I was standing began to rock to and fro. And he said to me, I have come to show you these things this night. If therefore you will pray again and fast for another 7 days, I will again declare to you greater things than these, because your voice has surely been heard by the Most High. For the Mighty One has seen your uprightness, and also observed the purity that you have maintained from your youth. Therefore he sent me to show you all these things, and to say to you, believe, and do not be afraid. Do not be quick to think vain thoughts concerning the former times. Then you will not act hastily in the last times. Now after this I wept again and fasted 7 days in the same way as before, in order to complete the 3 weeks that had been prescribed for me. Then on the 8th night my heart was troubled within me again, and I began to speak in the presence of the Most High. My spirit was greatly aroused, and my soul was in distress. I said, O Lord, you spoke at the beginning of creation and said on the first day, let heaven and earth be made, and your word accomplished the work. Then the Spirit was blowing, and darkness and silence embraced everything. The sound of human voices was not yet there. Then you commanded a ray of light to be brought out from the store chambers, so that your works could be seen. Again on the 2nd day you created the spirit of the firmament, and commanded it to divide and separate the waters, so that one part might move upward and the other part might remain beneath. On the 3rd day you commanded the waters to be gathered together in the 7th part of the earth. 6 parts you dried up and kept, so that some of them might be planted and cultivated to be of service to you. For us. For your word went forth, and at once the work was done. Immediately fruit came forth in endless abundance and of varied appeal to the taste, and flowers of inimitable colour and odours in inexpressible fragrance. These were made on the 3rd day. On the 4th day you commanded the brightness of the sun, the light of the moon, and the arrangement of the stars to come into being. And you commanded them to serve humankind about to be formed. On the 4th day you commanded the brightness of the sun, the light of the moon, and the arrangement of the stars to come into being, and you commanded them to serve humankind about to be formed. The sun and the moon, the sun will shine during the day. The sun will shine at night, the moon during the day. The stars will fall. You commanded them to serve humankind. And when it talks about at the end, afterwards, when it's all said and done, we don't need the sun and the moon anymore. It's all said and done. On the 5th day you commanded the 7th part, where the water had been gathered together, to bring forth living creatures, birds and fishes, and so it was done. The dumb and lifeless water produced living creatures, and it was commanded, so that therefore the nations might declare your wondrous works. Here we go. Then you kept in existence 2 living creatures, the one you called Behemoth, and the name of the other Leviathan. And you separated one from the other, So it cannot be the hippopotamus and the crocodile, because we know they live side by side. The hippo is a vegetarian, it eats vegetation, but it's huge. The crocodile can't mess with the hippo because it's huge. The hippo has a bigger mouth and bigger teeth. So they leave each other alone, but they live side by side. And you separated one from the other, for the 7th part, where the water had been gathered together, could not hold them both. And you gave Behemoth one of the parts that had been dried up on the 3rd day to live in it, where there are 1,000 mountains. But to Leviathan you gave the 7th part, the watery part, and you have kept them to be eaten by whom you wish and when you wish. So, Isaiah 26. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut the doors about thee. Hide thyself, as it were, for a little moment, until the indignation be overpast. For behold, Father Yah cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose their blood, and shall no more cover her slain. In that day the Father, with his sore and great and strong sword, shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. So we read these things and we find out about Leviathan. You can go back, read it in Job. It describes these things perfectly. It ain't no hippopotamus because it talks about its tail being the size of a tree. So, Psalm 74. To be eaten by who you wish, when you wish. Psalm 74:14. You crush the heads of Leviathan. Thou breakest the heads of Leviathan in pieces, and gavest him to be meat to the people inhabiting the wilderness. The storehouses will be empty. People will be fighting over food. Plus, the animals of the earth have been dying from all the destruction. The fish in the sea because of the wormwood and the blood in the water. Job 41:6. Shall the companions make a banquet of him? It's talking about Leviathan. Let me start from 41 and 1. Canst thou draw out Leviathan with a hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? Can thou put a hook inside his nose, or bore his jaw through with a thorn? Will he make supplications unto thee? Will he speak soft words unto thee? Will he make a covenant with thee? Wilt thou take him for a servant forever? Wilt thou play with him as with a bird, or wilt thou bind him for thy maidens? So he's talking about Leviathan. It's so great. Can you possibly do all these things with Leviathan? But he's comparing it to the Most High. Leviathan is this great serpent. You cannot bind him. You can't hook him. You can't ask him to make supplications. But the Most High is so much greater. The Most High killed Leviathan with his sword. I created you. You're for my purpose. So 6, shall the companions make a banquet of him? Shall they part him among the merchants? Food. That just blew me away, like. So, but Leviathan, you gave the 7th part, the watery part, and you have kept them to be eaten by whom you wish and when you wish. Remember the quail? Oh, man. On the 6th day you commanded the earth to bring forth before you cattle, wild animals and creeping things, and over these you placed Adam as ruler over all the works that you had made. And from him we have all come, the people whom you have chosen. All this I have spoken before you, O Lord, because you have said that it was for us you created this world. And as for the other nations that you have descended from, and as for the other nations that descended from Adam, you have said that they are nothing, and that they are like spittle. And you have compared their abundance to a drop from a bucket. And now, O Lord, these nations which are reputed to be as nothing domineer over us and devour us. But we, your people, whom you have called your firstborn, only begotten, zealous for you, and most dear, have been given into their hands. If the world has indeed been created for us, why do we not possess our world as an inheritance? How long will this be so? Now you all know this is one of my favorite notable verses. Exodus 10:3, and Moses and Aaron came in unto Pharaoh and said unto him, Thus says Father Yah, the Elohim of the Hebrews, how long wilt thou refuse to be humble and let my people go, so that they may serve? Thank you for listening. It's difficult, it's scary, man. We're all in trouble. cannot save your country. It is what it is. All you can do is save yourself. Do not fight. The nations who refuse to serve will be utterly destroyed. So all throughout the book, and we've even been mocked for it over the ages, the question all throughout the book, the reoccurring question for different reasons: how long? And so we wait. These are the signs.